What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of the 585 Niner Gang podcast. For those of you who don't know, I am originally and still am from Rochester, New York. And my co host, James, is originally from San Francisco, now a
Boom.
Rochester, New York native, hence the 585. And it was something we talked about, I'd say, last year. And he was on with me and he was on with me and Ted last week during our episode of Ted Talks Ball or First and Ted, and we're gonna give it a go, just the two of us, see how this bad boy's gonna work for the upcoming season. And so we're gonna dive into some of the news that I gathered off the interwebs about training camp. But I wanted to let James, if you want to reintroduce yourself for people that didn't see you on the last stream, and just kind of give them an idea what you're all about, and give him maybe a little backstory to you coming over originally from San Francisco.
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Aaron. Yeah, we worked together, and way before that, I was born and raised in San Francisco. I lived in Noe Valley, Mission area. I remember going to games at Candlestick when I was a kid, getting on the train or the bus, getting on the T and going to Candlestick. And the actual last game I went to was the last game at Candlestick, the pick at the stick. And I'm actually going to a game this year. Of course, now that I live in Rochester, I had to go to the Buffalo 49ers game December 1st, so I'm going to that. But yeah, I was born and raised in San Francisco. I loved the Niners since I was born. Basically, my parents are Niners fans. My dad actually is from Rochester, but he moved to San Francisco in the 70s, and he was a huge Niners fan. He forgot all about the Bills because the Niners in the 80s were the team.
Yep.
So he still liked the Bills, but I was always a Niners fan, Giants fan, Warriors fan, all San Francisco teams I've been fan of my whole life. So yeah, that's me.
Most of the people that watch these streams are Giants and Warriors fans as well as 49er fans. There's a couple people out there that do the YouTube thing. A lot of people know Jason Aponte. He's a big New York Yankees fan and a 49er fan. So I mean, but for the most part, you pretty much sum up everybody that watches these streams, because there's people that do 49er streams who also do Warrior stuff, and they also
Hmm.
do Giants
Yep.
stuff. So it's been a tough year for the Giants. Warriors, I don't know what's going on with them as a franchise. They're in a little bit of a transition period
Yeah,
after being really.
Steph's the only thing they have, pretty
Steph is
much.
really literally the only thing they have. It happens though, man. Like, dynasties come, they go. I mean, look at the Patriots right now. I made a point to talk to some Patriots fans, and I said that, as a Niners fan growing up, like I lived through the best time ever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, you
you
did.
can say you're a 49er fans when things are going really good, but can you rep your team when it's your team's playing like trash and they're bad? And the Niners were bad from like 2000 to maybe like 2010, 2011.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so I asked Patriots fans, if you're as loyal as you say you've been, you got to stick with them now through all this, just this change that's come post Brady era, post Belichick
yeah.
era. So it's for anybody who's been a Niners fan since I've been a Niners fan since like 89, 90. So we're going on 34 years as a Niners fan.
Yep.
I've lived through some really good and some really bad, and I've lived through these Super Bowl losses, which when I was growing up, I didn't know what that was.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, Niners are in training camp. There isn't a ton of news going on other than like a couple, position groups that have been excelling at camp. So we're still in the process, at least as of making of this stream, unless it's any breaking news. I'm going to open up my Twitter real quick, and we could touch on the fact that whoever's not there in camp still, if all the holdouts are going as planned. Let me kick over, see if anything's
All
changed
right.
here. So as I'm speaking, the holdouts are still as they were previous days. Trent Williams isn't there; he's holding out, and of course we have the Brandon Ayuk saga. Uh,
Yeah.
there's been some communication. I mean, he's been seen walking on the field with John Lynch. and it looks like it's pretty positive conversations. What's we talked about this last week because it's still going on, right? Like, what's your mindset with the Ayuk thing? Are you confident that they're going to get something done because of where we are in the offseason? That trade just doesn't seem feasible.
Well, he's on the hook. I mean, he's still our player, so we are in control right now. It's I think it's pretty much over because I think if Ayuk's smart, he's just going to go to training camp eventually and show what he's got, and he's going to play. He's not going to hold out. I don't think he's not going to. There's not going to be this big drama. I think it really comes down to what we want to do. Do we want to keep Purdy or do we want to keep Ayuk? And that's the big question. Now that Tua signed that huge contract,
Yep.
they're saying Purdy's going to want what $320 million, which is crazy. I mean,
I mean,
that's
that's
a
Bill.
lot of
That's
money.
Bill Barnwell talking from ESPN. I don't know if that's an official figure.
Yeah, and that
That
just sounds crazy.
60
Like,
in a year. This year needs to play itself out, and they're going to definitely have to look at how he plays and the health of of him as a quarterback.
but yeah,
Um,
Ayuk's going to play. He's going to play because there's no way. Here's the thing. He's got to play because you take that time off from football, you start getting rusty,
mhm.
and he's gonna get paid eventually. It might not be right now, but um, we really just don't have enough money to pay him right now. So
Yeah.
eventually, we'll either trade him or he's just gonna play this year, and we'll probably let go of him next year. So
We got a couple people in here, a couple OGs. We got Paul Hope from across the pond, 49er Faithful UK. He and his co-host are two of the coolest guys I ever want to meet. They have this whole thing going on over in the UK where they do these massive game watch parties, especially for the Super
that's
Bowl.
awesome.
There's if you look at some of the pictures that they put up on Twitter, you got Kittle, you have Joe Staley who's now retired.
Hmm.
They've
I
got
love Joe.
they've got their hooks in the 49ers, even though they're across the pond. Paul
Nice.
says that we need an unlimited salary cap. Yep, of course.
Yeah.
I
Oh
wish.
yeah.
Also, Terradome, he has his own channel. Uh, he is another OG of the YouTube streets, as we all have been pretty much talking to each other since I've been on YouTube. So there's a lot of OGs in here. Of course, we got Sentinel. He's
Let's
saying hello
go.
to Terradome. I appreciate you guys coming through here on YouTube. If you're on Twitter and you want to jump over to the YouTube channel, that would be awesome. As far as me with the whole situation with Ayuk, I think the Niners are going to keep Ayuk. I think this is an important year. Like I said yesterday with the bash, that it is really important that and Cowing and oh my God, his name is escaping me right now. The young guy. Uh, you got
The
Ricky
wide
Parasol.
receiver.
Ricky
Oh, Parasol.
Parasol have
Yeah.
strong years because this is kind of a tipping point here with the Matt Mayoka made a point that the Niners really, when it comes down to it, they just can't pay everybody.
Mhm.
They had the Christian McCaffrey deal come up this offseason. Now we have, the whole situation with Trent Williams, and now we have Brandon Ayuk. Of course, you can't pay everybody. Now, the great thing is that there's a good chance Debo, based on just how things look, this could just be his final year in San Francisco. So there essentially is a chance that Ayuk plays on his fifth year option, right? And
Mhm.
then the Niners take care of him next season.
Yeah.
That's, to me, seems like what we're headed towards. Now I could be totally wrong, and he signs within the next couple days, and I could just look like an idiot with egg on my face. But I'm thinking that's more of what we're going for. The Purdy contract, like Paul Hope is saying in the comments, that's when we're really going to have to start uh, nut cutting. That's why you got to hit through the draft. That's why you got to hit through the draft. This past draft, getting Cowing and Ricky Parasol is huge. If those guys
Mhm.
pan out, we're set, right? We can move on from
Yeah.
guys. It's unfortunate that with the draft we haven't been able to land a tight end, because that's another position where, Kittle's getting a little long in the tooth. He plays really physical. How much more can he give us? Like, how much more does that position give us? I mean, he's so heavily dependent on, And, that's why these drafts, people, I think a lot of fans, especially fans of teams that are really good, don't realize how hard it is to draft that late in the draft with every pick, and how hard it is to scout and pick. We all get excited back in the day when we were, picking Bosa and picking this guy in the top 10, but that's a reflection of how bad you are as a team. You want to be picking in the 30s. That means you're
Yeah.
like one of the top teams in the NFL. So those picks are so much more important, and that's why they have to hit on them so much. So I personally think Ayuk will be signed sooner rather than later. Could it be that he plays on a fifth-year option? Possibly, but only time will tell. Do I think that they're going to let him go for nothing? No. And I think the way that they can structure, I mean, there's always ways to structure deals. It's like Trent Williams, they can do some things and they can bump some stuff down the road and allow them to have a little bit more room. But those two deals really are kind of the thing that's kind of a cloud hanging over training camp. So if I'm gonna be a betting man, I say that they get Trent Williams taken care of first,
Yeah, they got him.
and then
They have
Ayuk second. But I just think the 49ers are going to find a way to get both of those guys signed before the season. If they want to win a Super Bowl this year, they need all hands on deck, including Ayuk, including Trent. So I'm not too concerned. He says, I agree. Ayuk stays. Trent gets his guaranteed money. Yeah, that's the thing right now. Trent doesn't have any more guaranteed money. So that's something to look out for. Jimmy's up in here saying hello. What's up, Aaron? How you doing, man? Ricky Teal, thanks for coming through. Appreciate it.
going on.
Um,
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about the drafting tight ends, because I saw something on Twitter about a guy we didn't really look at last year because he was injured. Latu, I think I'm saying his name right. Latu or Latu. He looks like he could be a pretty good tight end if he stays healthy. He's not huge, but they said his speed is pretty good in training camp. And this guy's, I think, our third string tight end right now, but he could be a huge part of the team eventually. You never know. That's how it goes with 49ers. I mean, we get these lower draft picks, like you say, and they might show out. They might become a act like a first round pick. So hopefully Latu pans out, because that would help. Maybe next year we draft some offensive linemen, hopefully, and a tight end, because Kittle's getting older. I mean, even though he had a great season last year, after 30, unless you're Tony Gonzalez, tight ends usually go downhill.
Yeah,
so
they do. Yeah. And the way that he runs and blocks and plays, I just don't think that's conducive to playing, 15, 18 years.
No.
I could see if the Niners win a Super Bowl, him retiring a lot sooner than people think. He's got a lot of interest outside of the game. Kittle, and I get on him for this. I say Kittle's a businessman and a brand more than he is a football player. And that's just the bitter side talking to me, because he played really bad in the Super Bowl. And, he's kind of a clown sometimes. And I'm an old school guy. I don't like guys that talk a lot. I don't like guys that celebrate a lot. I don't like guys. I like players that look miserable, like they freaking hate what they're doing, because then that means that they care more. I don't know. That's just
you
how
know
I look.
what I feel about that, Aaron. I love Kittle. I think that guy, yeah, he is showy. He shows off and stuff. But I was watching the receiver, and the way he talks to himself before those games, and the dedication he has to being the best player, that's why I like him. That's why I like him. He really gives a shit. There's some players, they get paid and they're like, maybe I'll have a good game, I'll do my part. This guy is literally talking to himself every game, telling himself he's going to be the best he can be. And yeah, Super Bowl sucked, but I really don't get. I think he gets in his head in the Super Bowl, because he's not the same player he is in the Super Bowl. He was running routes slower. He wasn't getting off guys. I think it's also, the Niners were trying to force some stuff later, so he didn't get really good looks. But yeah, he I think he gets in his head in that Super Bowl, and maybe he needs to talk to himself more. In the
I don't
Super
know.
Bowl.
Did you see that part towards the end of that receiver documentary when his wife was like, "I got to get out of here. I don't want to watch this."
I
When they
haven't
started
gotten there yet.
celebrating,
I haven't gotten there yet.
oh,
I'm on
I
about the 4th episode.
I'm just gonna say that I relate a lot to Claire Kittle with all that because it's that's a good documentary. I talked about this with Bashar yesterday. 49er minded about that whole Devontae Adams hating Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Man, did Kyle do wonders and play and have a voodoo doll to make Jimmy play good or as good as he could? Man, without Kyle's like being the overlord of offense over Jimmy
Yeah.
Garoppolo, man, does he look bad. He is like
He does.
he's wow.
He had 3 interceptions that one game, and Devontae Adams still had like 120 yards.
That's insane.
But he's like, and Devontae Adams says, but we keep having turnovers, and he's talking about Jimmy. He's not saying it, but he's like turnovers. Like,
He was saying
man,
like he's gonna die out there and like, I've never been hit this much in my life. I got to get out of here. That's a direct shot at Jimmy. I don't care what anybody says. I want to talk about something that is not 49er related, but it is 49er related. Before we get into more training camp stuff, I don't know if you saw the clips of Trey Lance in Cowboys camp. He looks
No, I didn't.
really bad, like really, 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 really bad. And there was a lot of people last year who questioned that move. There is content creators out there who just refused to give Brock his props, and they were stuck on this whole Trey Lance thing last year. People, look, he's a bust. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens in sports. The Niners.
And now he's on the Cowboys. He's an extra bust.
And he's a Cowboy now. Like, why do we even care about him?
Yeah.
Listen, it happens. It happens in sports all the time. The guy that you think has zero shot to make it, the old Rudy thing, and he's the one that's your starting quarterback, undersized, whatever.
Everybody said Alex Smith was a bust. I myself thought he was a bust. The first 3 years, Alex Smith was our quarterback. I was like, this guy's a bust. And then the NFC Championship game, and or was it the divisional? I think it was divisional game.
Mm-hmm.
He just killed it, and you knew right then. And then he got hurt, and I thought we should have kept him over Kaepernick that whole time. And I still go back to that because he was like our next. We took him over Aaron Rodgers, so he was our next like Joe Montana supposed to be. And I was just like, this guy is such a bust. And then finally he pans out. What
he just
happens?
had the right coach and the right system.
Yeah.
They put him in a position to win.
Yeah.
Some of the things that our team talked about at camp right now, I saw a report that Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa look incredible. And this is a really important camp because we're coming off of the Talanoa Hufanga injury last year, of course. And even if we wanted to bring back Tyshawn Gibson, he's got to serve a 6-game suspension. So if Talanoa Hufanga comes back and he's healthy, we have 3 legitimate safeties possibly going into next year. So a position of question could turn into a position of strength. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Malik Mustafa. That dude is humongous.
I shared
I
a
don't usually
picture of
get
him
like
today.
whoa over like another dude as far as his physique goes, but yeah, that dude looks like a Greek god. I mean, his build is phenomenal, and that doesn't really mean anything, right? You could look like Tarzan and play like Jane, but the Niners have something there at the safety position. What do you think, man? Do you think the Niners? Are in a good place with hopefully Hufanga coming back, and then you have these other 2 guys in Jair and Mustafa looking good so far in camp?
I think, we're stacked at safety. We're stacked. I mean, we forget. I think we still have George Odom too, who's our special teams guy, but he's still an okay safety too. So we pretty much got 4 good safeties. But here's the thing. I think if we had Hufanga last year in those later games, huge difference. That guy he does get beat on the blitz sometimes. That's his only weakness.
He's very aggressive.
He's very aggressive. But that guy is a game changer. Straight up game changer. The Tongan missile I mean, that Green Bay game, I'll never forget that. That was the one game my wife watched with me because it was crazy. I mean, we were gonna lose that game, and he blocked that kick. And ever since then, I love the guy. He's amazing. I told my friend when he was in USC, I was like, that guy is going to be a beast. Watch. And because I watched his film in USC, he was everywhere,
Yeah.
and he's great. So I think we're stacked at safety. I think it's going to be Jair Brown and Hufanga eventually. I think Gibson's great too, but he's getting old and he's an INT beast though. So maybe we have like a three safety scheme in some parts.
Yeah, if he comes back later in the year after his suspension, possibly.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah. But he catches a lot. Gibson
does catch a lot
catches
of picks.
interceptions. Yeah. I get that. So I say we keep him.
With all the question marks we had at corner last year, through all the injuries and stuff, and you would thought we would have had it at safety too. The Niners just seem. We don't know what Mustafa is. I mean, we haven't put pads on yet. He's not going against. He's not going against Ayuk right now. He's going against Debo and Danny Gray and some other guys. So, I want to see him get tested, of course. Another position group on the defense that's having a good camp so far, at least it was today.
Yeah.
The D line ruled the day, even without Bosa. They had 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a score. Across the board, there was sacks. The forced fumble was forced by Fred Warner, and then the score was like the touchdown. They don't count it or whatever. Was Isaac Yodom, the guy that they picked up in the offseason, the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So D line looking strong so far. Now they were going against that backup offensive lineman. So we have to put that in perspective. But D line so far, they said in camp has been looking strong. Bosa in, Bosa out, doesn't matter. One of the guys that we talked about the last week, Gross Matos, a lot of people are really intrigued. The coaches are really intrigued by him, that he could be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife on that defensive line. So it's all about health, brother. If we stay healthy on that defensive line, this is an interesting defensive line because Floyd, he's not the biggest name as far as pass rushers goes, but he's consistent. 10 sacks a year, never hurt. What's your take, man? You like hearing that the defensive line's kind of killing it right now, which is usually the case in camp.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, when is our defensive line bad? I mean, I'll go back to the Kaepernick days. We had all first round pick defensive linemen back then. We had Solomon Thomas, we had Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and we had somebody else who was a defensive end. But we have been good on defensive line, and I think our coaching and our recruiting is great when it comes to this. I saw on Twitter today that Hargrave was giving huge props to Malik Collins.
Yeah.
I guess they were in the same draft class, and he said that Hargrave said that he is just a beast. He's playing good. He's playing good in camp. He's watched his film actually before he played his game. So for Hargrave to say that about Malik Collins is pretty good. I like that tandem right there. I mean, Malik Collins is a huge guy. We haven't really had a huge defensive tackle. So to finally have that 310-pound guy right in the middle is good. And then Bosa and Floyd on the other side. And I like Gross Matos because of this. He was on the Panthers and another team, I believe. Not very successful teams. Now he's on a Super Bowl caliber team with good coaches. This kid could be a stud. If he's with us, his potential's up, going through the roof now because he's with a good team. Kid's never been with a good team, and he still has done pretty good in those crappy teams.
And they've been and those guys have been relatively healthy, unlike some of the guys that we've had on their team in the past. So. To me, I don't get so excited on camp when I hear about things because again, the pads haven't came on. Yeah, the pads come on next week, right? I think Monday, Tuesday, something like that. So I'll hold my comments until then, but it's always nice to hear. Debo looks like he's having a strong camp so far. From all the reports, they got the little highlights that they like to put up on there, him killing it. He had a really good offseason training wise. He said he's in the best shape he's been in his whole career. Listen, I've been critical of him too, kind of like Kittle because of their physical play style and they're hurt a lot and stuff. But again, after watching the receiver documentary, he is so important in the 49ers offense and what he does.
Hmm.
So for him to have a strong training camp, I hope it translates into something. A lot of times it doesn't with these players. Have a great camp and then they get hurt and then, whatever. And it's the same old, same old. So Debo is so important in this offense. We
Yeah,
saw it in the Browns game when he got hurt last year.
that's what I was
How
going to say.
bad we looked on offense when he was out, and people could say, "Oh, Purdy this, Purdy that." When you build a whole game plan on somebody and then they're gone, then you are like, "Okay, we had to scrap all, how many plays out of the playbook and try to turn somebody else into the same player." So he's looked strong. It looks like Pearsall's looking good on the side field. It looks like he's aiming towards coming back early next week. And they're saying Jacob Cowing looks explosive as well. So again, no pads. Everybody's got to calm down. Everybody gets really excited, including myself. But let's get the pads. Come on,
Yeah.
let's get a little bit of wear and tear in camp where guys start to break down a little bit and see what they play like when they're tired and they're hurting and stuff. Because that's when you get kind of a real sense. Because in the NFL season, it's completely different than practice. You can I was watching something about the offensive lineman in practice, and Chris Forrester just talked about how offensive lines in those one-on-one competitions are made to look really bad because if they're at the disadvantage when it comes to those blocking drills. So um, if there's any concern I have going in, and we talked about this as offensive line, I'm not a big Colton McKivitz fan. So that's important. And now with Trent Williams out, we have questions at tackle on the other side. Pooney, the draft pick that we got this year, they're saying he's looking like he's having a pretty strong camp so far. They really want him to anchor down a guard, it looks like. So those are my more concerns than all the other stuff that we've been talking about. I do think that the defensive line is going to be really good this year. It's just a matter of staying healthy. That's kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's always, the years we haven't been successful is because we got injuries. And, I think the thing that the receiver reminded me of is how they're talking about we had a perfect season. We had a perfect team. Maybe, we don't need a perfect team to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying everybody get injured. I'm saying, here there people are going to get banged up, but we need a team to frickin' win the Super Bowl already. So this has got to be our year.
It
I
seems
say
like
that every year.
it is. I
Say that every
I'm
year.
right there with you. I've been saying that since 10th grade because we won when I was in 9th grade. So I was like already 15. I was 15 when they won their last one. Okay, I've had to suffer through.
I was 3. I was 3.
I was born in '79. I was born the same year Montana was drafted. So I kind of take credit for everything that's happened. It's kind of like the universe somehow had to match up with the greatness of me being born with Joe Montana. So I'm just kidding, but yeah. So it's been a long time. David McNiner in the house.
I like
Thanks,
that
Dave, for
name.
coming through. I wanted to tell you one thing about.
McNiner.
Yeah,
I like that.
can't get any better than that. Paul Hope. Now they're from the UK, so he's up right now. I figure it's 5 hours difference, so we're looking at about 1 in the morning right now or so, 1 something in the morning. That he's
Dedicated.
watching the stream. So you're dedicated, man. I appreciate it. One of my favorite people on YouTube.
Nice.
Just because he's a real good dude. And I can't wait to collaborate with them again. It's going to be fun. I want to go on their show for a change. So hopefully we'll get on there soon. It looks like Brock Purdy's price is going to go up in the offseason. We talked about it. Tua got paid 4 years, $212 million. What do you think, man? First of all, I want to ask you straight up: are you sold on Brock Purdy as a quarterback for this team?
Oh yeah, I'm completely sold. I think if he's the last pick in a draft and he's playing like this, I mean, he's got it. He's got it. It's only been 2 years, but this next year is huge because it's not for us fans, it's for him. If he has a crappy year, he's not getting paid as much, you know? So, this is a huge year for Purdy, but I believe in him. I mean, I have since day one when he played that game against Tampa Bay, against frickin' Tom Brady, and
Right.
and and Tom Brady was just in disbelief the whole game. He's like, "Who the hell is this kid?" And I knew it right then. I was like, "This kid is the guy," you know?
Teradome says he's the CEO of Rockefeller Records. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty sweet, dude. Oh
He
my
makes
god.
Brock, the first gym leader, look like crap.
Wow.
He should be the
Rockefeller
eighth.
Records.
He should
Rockefeller
be the
Records.
eighth gym leader.
That's awesome. Teradome doesn't like Chris Forrester. Yeah, he's something squirrely about him. Nick Sorensen kind of gives me that vibe too. The
Yeah,
defensive coordinator. Both of them are. I don't know, man. I'm not going to say what I want to say because it'll come off really mean, but they look like they dabble in some stuff for entertainment purposes or for when they're bored in some sort of powders or some other things.
yeah,
But man, they both look a little squirrely for me. I wanted
yeah.
to ask you about so in the offseason, of course, Brandon Staley was fired by the Chargers. Niners picked him up. He was on the Rams staff, I think, when they won the Super Bowl that year, a couple years ago. A lot of talk has been how he's been really working with the defensive backfield. Um, we had a really bad defensive year last year. I mean, still finished with some good stats and good rankings and stuff, but the uh, the the defensive coordinator we had last year just didn't cut it. He was just he
Mhm.
wasn't. It just wasn't a good mix. Now the Niners essentially have two. Are you looking to see what kind of transpires between having Chris Forrester and Brandon Staley? What kind of defense? Who's the defensive coordinator? I mean, we're definitely going to have to be better than last year because last year we had some big issues, especially late in the year with the run defense, and then of course the defense how it was played on that last drive against the Chiefs. Um, that was just that was essentially why we lost the Super Bowl. So
Mhm.
how important do you think it is for us to kind of find an identity on defense again and kind of get back to what we do best, which is rush and cover?
Well, I'm. We haven't had a great defensive coordinator since Saleh. Saleh was great. I think. I think
I
Staley.
thought D'Amico was fair. I thought D'Amico was really
D'Amico is
good.
good too. D'Amico's good too. But I think Saleh was even better. I think just because of his attention to detail. Yeah, D'Amico's great too. I'm not saying he's probably up there with Saleh, but I think Staley's definitely the coordinator. Forster's kind of like his little buddy. That's what I've gotten from it.
Kind of the mouthpiece,
But
but like he's doing all the work
yeah,
behind the scenes, kind of.
yeah, and Staley was I did not like when we got Staley because the Chargers have had a horrible defense for so long, even before him, and it's like he walked into that and now he's like on a completely different team, which he has no idea. I feel like he doesn't know what to do with. There's players on his team. I mean, what do you have? Derwin James. That was pretty much it.
Yeah,
Now he's
Joey
got
Bosa, but he's always
and
hurt.
Joey Bosa, but he's always hurt. But it's like you have like six stars on this defense, so he better step up. I mean, I think he needs to step up, and I think our defense will be better because we look at all the mistakes. I saw the interview with Chardavius Ward. He's going to Chardavius Ward said he's gonna watch out for the penalties. He knows that he screwed up last year. I think he knows that like the referees call more calls towards the end of the season, so he's gonna look for that. It's really up to the players too. It's up to them and
Yeah,
some of
there's
the
only so
plays.
much blame you can put on a defensive coordinator.
Exactly.
I mean, last year just wasn't a good year, but they had some issues with oh my God, his name is escaping me. The defensive coordinator last year, former head
Oh,
coach.
um, I can't think of his name. That's how
Somebody
bad he was.
somebody help us. We're having we're brainstorming here. Who was the defensive
Um,
coordinator last year? Give me
I
some help.
agree. I agree with you, Sentinel, for sure.
Yes,
The
he
fall
is the
guy.
new fall. Oh, Kyle always has to have someone that they can blame. That's how it
Oh
always
yeah.
works. Steve
Yep.
Wilkes,
It's
thanks.
never Steve
Yeah,
Wilkes.
Steve
Yeah.
Wilkes was just
I mean, he didn't even play on the field until what was it, week 3, week week something like that. I can't remember, but he was like up in
Mid-season when
the
they had him come down out
yeah
of the booth because the defense was playing
mm,
kind of caca.
yeah
He just it felt like it wasn't a good mix. It just wasn't a good mix. He didn't. It's like do he want. They said that we were going to just be like we were before, and that there wasn't going to be any changes. Kyle picked a guy because he knew that guy wouldn't screw anything up, and he would just kind of go with what the other guys were doing. That's essentially what didn't happen. This defense looked completely different than the previous years with Saleh and D'Amico. So supposedly, with this two-headed defensive coordinators with Staley and Nick Sorensen, we're going to get some sort of like rebirth of what we had back in 2019, kind of, which is
yeah
great because our defense was really good.
hmm
But we'll see. Again, for what third day of training camp, second day of practice or training camp practice. So we got quite a bit of ways. It's hard to really kind of put any type of
I
go ahead.
I don't even count week 1 because we're gonna put the beat down on Aaron Rodgers. I don't care. That guy is getting a beat down no matter what. So I say week 2. That's how cocky I am with Rodgers. I don't think I'm looking forward to that game, but come on, the guy needs to put the gloves up. Um, and you're definitely not going to beat the Niners, bro. You didn't win with the freaking Green Bay Packers. How are you going to win with the Jets? So I'm waiting for
I
that week 1.
I will keep my predictions. Although we did record predictions earlier in the offseason, and I did pick us to win the first game. So, but there's a whole lot of time still between now and then.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm looking
Um,
forward to that.
Trying to think what else we got on the docket here. We might have touched everything we needed to touch. Oh, let's talk about the fact that the media is back on the Brock Purdy disrespect train. Uh,
hmm
Not on any top 10 lists. Um, we had Colin Coward say he's essentially Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0, which proves to me, and me and Bashar talked about this yesterday, that they don't watch film because
Yeah.
they're nothing alike. I was actually, before we streamed on Facebook or Instagram, was the highlights of the comebacks in the playoffs, one against the Lions. And man, Purdy was amazing in those drives.
Yeah.
I don't think people realized how much he was to not to blame, but how much praise should go on him for how he controlled himself during that final drive against the Lions to put us in the Super Bowl. I mean, it was amazing. Kind of forgot about
And
it. I kind of
and
forgot about it, and I had to be reminded why exactly he's the guy. And I watched that, and then I hear Colin Coward say his trash, and I'm just like,
yeah,
here we
it's
go again.
just it's always going to be like that. I think until, you know, we'll see this next year if they give him any more praise. But yeah, they don't know anything. They look at Jimmy G. He did not come back from games. He was
No,
not a comeback guy. Purdy has proven himself to come back. There's a few games last season that we should have lost, and we won because of Purdy. The other thing is, can Jimmy G run like Baby Bosa? No. This guy he's not the fastest guy, but Purdy is pretty damn good getting
he's got
around
some clicks on
linebackers.
him. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so we didn't have that with Jimmy G. He would just stand
no,
in the pocket and
he would
hopefully
crater, and
nobody. Yeah, he was Tom Brady. That's what he was. He wasn't Tom Brady-esque, but I'm saying he played like Tom Brady, where he stood there and threw the ball. That's all he did. You know.
Terradome, you just had to bring that up. Colin's still mad because Trey dissed his daughter. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Hey, so he happened to be right about Trey Lance, Terradome, but like still, we know the real reason why he's hot. Trey
Yeah.
was with his daughter, did whatever, moved on, and he's forever going to hate the 49ers for it, and that's whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, I am listen, there is people on that do content that are still sour about the Trey Lance thing, even last year, late in the season. These are pretty well known content creators that have really good, view view numbers and subscribers, and they're in the Grant Cohn kind of clique, and they were right there with a lot of the national media, the Nick Wrights of the world, or Nick Wrong, like I like to call him, who just would not give him any credit, and he was all a product of the system. And I look at it like this: if he's a product of the system, then how come Trey Lance was so bad in that system? And I know he didn't get the chance to play with all the toys, but I mean, you got to make it. It happens in practice, and practice is where guys make their presence felt when they have the reps that they get, and preseason as well. He just never looked comfortable. He looked like a guy who was thinking slowly, and I mean, if you look at the highlights, I should have put it on the put it here for the stream, but his throwing mechanics now in Dallas look like they've completely eroded back to college. So, um, I know we were talking about Brock Purdy. I just don't think people realize how lucky we got
Yeah.
that hit on Brock Purdy. I mean, that's like a 1 in a billion opportunity,
Two
chance, and
quarterbacks
he
got
got it.
hurt. Two quarterbacks got hurt to get him up, you know?
And if you had to take a quarterback right now, who would you take? They were drafted in the same draft. Would you take Trevor Lawrence, or would you take Brock Purdy? What has Trevor
For sure,
Lawrence done
Brock
since he's
Purdy.
been drafted to
Nothing.
say that he's the best quarterback from that draft? What has he done?
One good year. That's about it.
Do I think he could be really good if he played in the Niners offense? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man. Purdy's been amazing. I again just go watch the playoff film from the end of the games. Amazing, so good. Uh, so okay, thank you, Sentinel. Trevor was in 21. That's right, because that was the same draft that Trey Lance. So that whole draft really sucked as far as quarterbacks. That whole draft sucked. Like if you think
Yeah, pretty
about it,
much.
like the Bears and their quarterback situation, and then the 49ers, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, wasn't that
Yeah,
good.
that
And then of
was
course, what's his name was drafted by the Patriots.
Mac
What's his
Jones.
face? Mac Jones,
Mac
and he's
Jones,
not
yeah.
in New England anymore. So I mean, that was just a bad draft. Niners got lucky, people. Niners got lucky. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the RG3 situation, and then you had Kirk Cousins come out of nowhere, and it reminded me a little bit of that. But Kirk Cousins wasn't Mr. Irrelevant, so and I think that's one of the reasons that the media will kind of consistently down him, is the fact that he was the last player drafted. He's small. He doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't have elite athletic ability. They're always going to poop on him for that. And then they're going to, of course, use the whole, well, the 49ers got a lot of weapons. So that's okay. I don't care. I'm already sold. So,
Yeah. The
and
guy's
he
a
looked,
beast.
and from what I've heard, he's looked good in camp. He finally threw an interception today. It was uh, kind of, I'm trying to think what happened. I forget how they explained it, but it was more of a good play by the defense than a bad throw by the offense. So
Mhm. Hey, get it out of
Paramount
the way
says,
now, you know? Get it out of the way now. Throw all your
yeah.
INTs now,
My whole
you know?
problem was the last couple of years with these idiots that sit there and they document training camp throws and interceptions. Like it's
A
unbelievable
waste of
that
time. Waste of time.
what are we doing here? I just
Yeah.
don't understand that. It's just you know what it is, dude. People who have a narrative and they want to push the narrative and get those views, and people like people like drama, and they're driven to watch it. And so people
Mhm.
know that. So why not stir it up by making a big deal out of training camp throws? And I'm telling you, James, it was everybody. Anybody who had a good channel or has a following, who was a journalist worth their weight in gold, was pushing all that stuff all last year, and it was just unbelievably bad. I said it on Twitter. I said, "Listen, if I like you, it's okay, but if I don't like you and you post training camp statistics, I will block you. I don't want to see it because it's
Yeah,
pointless."
it is. It is. It's all
Because
it's
if
all
that
to
was
stir
the
up the
case,
pot, like you
if
said.
that was the case last year, uh, a lot of people say that Trey Lance looked better in camp than Brock Purdy. What did that mean in the end? It didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So
He's still a
again, that's
backup to
also
Dak
people.
Prescott.
He can't, dude. Go look it up after this stream. Go look up Trey Lance Cowboys practice video or something, and he looks awful, awful, bad. So, but I'm not here to bash him. I'm just saying that we got lucky. We hit the lottery. Yes, we did. He wasn't supposed to be here. No, he wasn't. So again, we got lucky. But that's football, man. That's what happens.
We got really lucky. We got him. We got him
What's that?
and McCaffrey. We got him and McCaffrey. That it's like it was a 1-2 bang.
McCaffrey was asked about his touches this year in camp, and he pretty much said, like, I'm ready when they call me. Because they really want to get his touches down this year. You know how Kyle is when he likes players, just like when he doesn't like players. He'll either put them in the doghouse or he overuses them. There's kind of no middle ground with Kyle Shanahan. It's like, oh, your Christian McCaffrey's really good. We're going to give him 25 carries and he's also going to get 10 receptions. It's like, come on, dude, it's September. Let's wait a little bit. So, that's pretty much it. Camp injuries. The only one of note is Isaac Garendo, running back. Issues with hamstrings in college. He's now having issues with his hamstring here in the pros so far, but that's pretty much it as far as 49er news. Me and James are going to try to do this every week, every Friday at 7 p.m. I think it is, right?
Yes.
We're going to try to do every Friday if possible, if our lives allow it. So essentially, I think our stream will be kind of like a preview stream of the game, whereas the other streams during the week are usually kind of recap. But I didn't know how this was going to go, and I didn't know if you were going to be down to keep doing this. I wasn't sure, and the fact that you were like,
I'm always down.
The fact that you were asking me about it, and we did it, and now we've done it twice, has been pretty awesome. So, everybody, have a great rest of your Friday evening. Go get some pizza, get some chicken wings or whatever. Just chill and hang out. Because before you know it, we're gonna have some football on television, hopefully soon. Some preseason football is gonna be heading our way soon. So everybody enjoy your Friday. I will hopefully see you Monday with Bashar, a 49er minded. Till then, everybody stay safe and healthy. Go Niners.
All right.
And we'll
Go
talk
Niners.
to you later, guys.